listening to She Speaks Talk Radio, where women's words are changing the world.
Hello and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, your host, Mari Craig, where we are discussing how we can achieve wellness in our lives, one small step at a time. Today, I am joined from Norway by Kristine Oddvin Andersen, and we are going to be talking about biological norm. And that is a term I have to confess I really don't know enough about. I'm really excited to learn about it today. Now, Kristine works as a nutritionist and a health educator. Her goal is to raise awareness around issues concerning holistic health, natural lifestyle choices, and to motivate modern day humans to become more conscious of our biological norm. She believes today's epidemic of chronic illness is a result of people not living according to this norm, which craves minimally processed foods, a moving body, contact with nature's elements, toxin-free environments, supportive communities, and attachment parenting approaches. Her personal health journey began in 2012 after experiencing a missed abortion. And this made her ask questions and start looking for answers concerning women's health and the healthcare system in general. Kristine is a certified nutritionist, a graphic designer, and she holds a bachelor's degree in communication from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, which is also where I went. And she lives in Oslo, Norway, with her husband and daughter. Wow, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you on, and it's so weird. Again, you're my third guest from Norway, and it's so strange speaking a foreign language to somebody you're supposed to speak Norwegian to, but I think we'll be okay.
We'll try.
We'll try, give it a go. Awesome. So you shared that your journey began in 2012 after experiencing a missed abortion, and I actually didn't know that that term. Could you explain what that means?
Yeah, you mean the missed abortion?
Yeah, missed abortion, yes.
Yeah, it's, well, I'm not an expert on this, but it's when the fetus dies inside in the womb, but you don't really notice anything at first, so it can be dead for quite a few weeks, or I don't know how long, but for me it was, I started experiencing bleeding. That was in week 10, and then I had the sonogram, and it showed that the fetus had been dead for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So that's that's kind of, I think that's the,
so not quite the miscarriage, but in a missed abortion, because you haven't nothing has actually happened.
Kind of a silence.
It's like, okay, got it. Okay, so and this is what started your own personal health journey, was it? Because you weren't a nutritionist before this.
No, I was just a graphic designer before this.
Just a graphic designer.
Just a graphic designer.
So tell me, I mean, it must. Pardon?
Yeah. No, sorry.
No. No, but I'm thinking this must have been. I mean, first of all, a traumatic experience, but. And I think probably a lot of women might just go, okay, we'll try again. But this made you ask questions. So what happened? Where did you start going to find answers?
Yeah. Well, that was my first question as well. Is this normal? Because you hear about it quite a lot, and probably it's also more normal than we probably don't hear about all of it. It happens, I think, quite frequently. So I was okay. Will we just start over and try again, or should I investigate this? So luckily I decided to go with the second, and I went to a holistic doctor who I've heard a lot of positive feedback, was good with this kind of stuff. And she ran a bunch of tests, and she found my body was really not in balance. I had thyroid problems, I had hormone imbalances, nutrient deficiencies, gut dysbiosis, and it was not a very good bed and breakfast for a baby. So
I love that expression.
So I just decided, okay, I have to do something about this. I don't want to experience this again, because as you said, it was not a fun experience. And so I waited. First, I was thinking, okay, maybe 3 months, I will work with my body and try to maintain or get it better and get healthy. And then it was 6 months, and then it was a year, and then it was actually 2 years before we even tried to get pregnant again. Because the more I read, the more I learned. I figured that this is a big thing. It runs deep, and it takes time to reverse these imbalances. It's not like you can take a pill or just do one thing. You just have to do it all in the right order and do it properly, because so it takes a long time to develop these imbalances, and it also takes time to reverse them. Right, so
that is really important what you're saying there, because I think so many of us think like, oh, I want to get fit, I want to run 5k, I want to run 10k, I want to do it tomorrow, or like I want to lose I don't know, 10 kilos. It's going to happen within the next 2 weeks. Or, oh, I feel tired, I need to do something. Why can't I fix it straight away? But the body needs time to adjust, it needs time to heal. And it's important that we have that patience. It's not always easy, but I think it's important to have that patience and to realize, okay, I need to do one step at a time. But you must have noticed changes in yourself then.
Several things that I didn't really aim to correct was corrected, like my allergies, pollen, seasonal allergies that I've had since I was a child, really, and as long as I can remember. Those suddenly were just gone.
Oh, amazing.
So that was, and PMS and menstrual cramps, which I've been struggling with for many years, and just eating painkillers every month, and just thought that's normal. Those were suddenly gone, or at least reduced by maybe 95%. There were really no problem any longer. That was major improvement in my life quality, I will say. A lot of these things just vanished. I could take the sun. I could sit out in the sun in the middle of the day with no sunscreen and just didn't get burned. It was a lot of changes in my body.
Wow. And I think sometimes we don't realize that these things can be done, right? We just think that, oh, I've got whatever, I've got XYZ, I can't do anything, it's what it it's what it is. But actually I find it so uplifting to hear that if we do address our health issues, and you didn't even realize you had them, right? But if we do address them, magic can happen.
This is really, really common to just think that this is normal, everyone has it, if it's PMS or allergies, or it's just the way it is, and there's nothing you can do, and the doctor just give you antihistamines or painkillers or something that really doesn't address the root causes of the problem. So it doesn't really fix anything or reverse anything. It just masks the symptoms that you have. And so that's the mainstream medical approach. And I don't think it's very fruitful.
No, it's true. I mean, I had to have a painkiller yesterday. I had the most horrible headache, and I never take painkillers. But yesterday I had to just realize that if I'm going to function at all today, I need to do something. They have their place, but I also know that it's a short-term fix and not a long-term solution for anything. So you did all of these things. And obviously you have your daughter now, but also, so at what point did you go, okay, I need to study this, I need to become a nutritionist?
Yeah, well, that was a slow process. I think it started with myself, and then I got this aha experiences that, as you said, seasonal allergies can, in fact, you can reduce your symptoms or even eliminate it. So I started thinking, there's so many. It's not just me. And with the missed abortion and fertility problems and that, and PMS and this as well, this is so many women, and I need to get this out. And I know we're not the same, and what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you, and it's not one size fits all, but there are possibilities, and there is something you can do yourself, even though your doctor probably won't tell you that you can. There is things that can be done, and I thought this is really important for many women out there to hear and to know about. So to give them hope and kind of empower them to take steps and do things.
Yeah, I was going to use the same word, empowerment, because I think it's great to know that you don't just have to sit there and wait for somebody to help you, with whatever medication, but you can actually take matters into your own hand and do something. I think that's amazing. And it's interesting, everyone so far that I've had on this show that does something within the health industry, they've gotten into it because of a personal reason. We all have experienced something, and it's made us think, okay, I want to learn this properly so that I can help other people avoid what I've been through, or to help them recover like I've recovered. I think it's brilliant. But we are here. We were going to talk about biological norm, because I said to you, because I followed you on Instagram for a while, and the last couple of years, I think you've become more unafraid. And I think you had that as a bit of an intention. You said that you were going to be more unafraid to share how you feel about society in general. And you've been quite outspoken, which I think is amazing. And I'm going to share a link to your Instagram profile and Facebook in the show notes. And I think Instagram auto translates from Norwegian. Otherwise, for anyone listening, do a crash course. But biological norm was something that you said, I really want to talk about this. And I just went, biological what? So when did this come up for you? As this is what I think is important, and can you explain also what is biological norm?
Yeah, again, that has been quite a long journey, because at first I figured that nutrition is really important. It's important for everyone. It's important to prevent chronic illness, and it can also be used as a tool to reverse chronic illness and physical and mental or psychological imbalances. And of course, physical activity, that's an important thing. I think most people know this, that these two are important for us. But then as I read more and listened to more people and new voices, I figured that it's much more than just this. And the stress aspect came up as a really big one, that stress in all its forms, and this can be toxins, it can be hurrying or a lack of time, it can be, but stress is so many things. Even like eating the wrong foods is sort of stress. So stress is a really important thing to think about. So that's all the stressors that we in the modern Western countries, those are this is not something that our bodies are equipped to deal with. And that's where the biological norm comes in. I think it was Arthur Haynes who I picked it up from. He's a botanist, and he's been on Daniel Vitalis show, Rewild Yourself, a few times, and he's written this ebook called A New Path, and he speaks a lot about the biological norm, and it means that, well, it's based on the fact that our bodies and our genes are really the same as they were millions and hundreds and thousands of years ago. We are biologically more or less the same, but our environment and everything that we're exposed to, our diets, the stress levels, the toxin exposure, so many things that has changed in such just a few generations. Just in the last 100 years, it's just exploded, and so our day-to-day lives and the lives we live, it's our bodies cannot handle it, because it's not like our biological norm is what we, during evolution, during millions of years, has this is what we have become accustomed to. It's what we need. You know, we need these nutrients. We need to move. We need to have our community, our relationships, the attachment, certain, low stress levels, no chronic stress. This is what is always been like, more or less, just to oversimplify. But today it's totally different. Everything is totally different. So when we live in a way that is not according to our biological needs and our biological norms, then we get sick. Our homeostasis and the body is just, we use more energy and more capacity than we have. The body is just putting out fires all the time. This toxin exposure, our liver and our detox system is just working overtime, and it has to get consequences. We will get more or less sick, I think, if we don't tune into our biological norm. And it's all of these things, and it's also more subtle things like I said, community and rituals and ways to grieve and ways to connect and be with nature. Nature is really also a biggie in this, because we need the natural light, we need the fresh air and the soil with the microbes for our gut and immune systems. And just now we live in sterile boxes, with the packaged food, and it lacks the nutrients that our bodies need to function. But we don't necessarily see it, because we've just lived for 40 years, and it's always been like this.
Oh yeah, we're right in the middle of it. It's hard to see.
Yeah, so you can't see it. You can see it if you maybe watch other cultures, because in Eastern cultures they are maybe in some ways closer to living according to biological norms, and also of course like more distant tribes, and in the rainforest, or in people who live more like our ancestors did. But here in the Western world, like the weird society, the Western, educated, industrialized, rich and democratic, that's the weird. That's also a really funky, cool.
I like that.
Yeah, it's the weird. We think we're the norm, but we're really quite weird, because the way we live is just, we're just maybe 20% of the world's population. But still, all like 80% of all science and research is done with us as the,
as a normal people, as it were. Yeah,
we're like, and it's not right, because we're quite weird.
Well, this is a perfect storm though, because you got two working parents, so less time to cook dinners. So therein is an opening in the market for pre-packaged foods. Then you want to then it's just so much pressure on in school, so you want to give your children some fun things to do after school, so then you've got the after school activities, then you've got, you know, you have a long commute to work. I mean, I live just outside London. I don't go into London, my husband does sometimes. It's an hour each way, right? So then you have like breakfast clubs for the kids, and it's like this constant stressful situation, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
I mean, but one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's been the same in Norway, I would suspect so then. I was never a fan of lockdown, but one thing that lockdown taught me, or taught us, I think, is the power that lies with being able to wind down and not have to rush everywhere.
Yeah, I think lockdown was good for some people and not so good, you know, because we're all different and there's different situations and all that. But yeah, for many, I think finding more time and for parents to work from home and also having the kids at home, I think many got this aha moment that, oh, maybe we're supposed to, you know, spend more time together, if not like all the time, because it can be intense, you know, when you live in small families.
Oh yeah, it was pretty
that's not the
intense.
norm, you know. We actually we really need the village. So that's, you know, that's also one of the reasons that I say, you know, it's not you as a mother or a father, it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling overwhelmed and stressed and not capable and not being enough, because it's the way things are wired around us. It's the system. It's we're not meant to raise our 2 or 3 kids with 2 adults, you know, working full time. We've traditionally we've lived multi-generational, like, you know, with the smaller kids and bigger kids, taking care of the smaller kids and the grown-ups and the grandparents and uncles and aunts and the whole tribe, you know. That's the norm. And when it's like that, it's just, I got I tested it when we were on a holiday to Crete in 2019, me and my husband and my daughter and my sister and her wife and their 2 boys with 2 sets of grandparents for a week. It was not too much for anyone, because there was always some adult there to take care of the kids and do their bits, and it was just, and I thought, yeah, this is a aha moment. This is what the village should be like, you know. This is what the what life kind of, you know, should be like. It's not really stressful to have kids, you know, when you can, you know. It was just, yeah, this is really smooth.
Yeah, but it's true. But this is, yeah, it's because I think it's easy. I remember when I had my first child, I think I felt lonely an awful lot, because, and that's not to blame anyone, it's just how it was. And I think it's not, we're not meant to be doing all of this alone. But what is the solution then? Because we live in the society we live in, right? We talked about this before we hit record, that we live in the society we live in, and people are busy. I mean, one thing that we've done as a family is that because now I always work from home, but my husband works more from home, and we always have dinners together as a family. And that was it's crazy thing that I noticed when I moved to the UK anyway, that it's not common for families to have dinner together, because the parents tend to work really late, or certainly one parent tends to be home late. But whenever my husband is at home, which is most of the time, we all 4 of us have dinner together. And also we cut back on the children's after school activities, because they love doing them, but very frequently they would just be, you just saw in their whole face that they were like, I like to go here, but gosh, I need a week off. And they were like, you know, 6 and 9. So we're just thinking, we don't need to add stress to this now, so we cut back on activities. But still, we do live in the society we live in. So, I mean, what do you think is the solution to all of this?
Yeah, first of all, that's not easy. I would just have to say it's not really easy. What I try to do is to, first of all, get people to see this what we're talking about now, to understand and get the aha moment that the way we live is really not according to our biological norm, and that is why we feel overwhelmed and get sick, and our kids, they're struggling, and there's obesity, and there's behavioral problems, and so many things. You have to, I suppose you have to realize that there is a problem, before you do anything about it. And I don't think I think there's many people who don't really see it yet. So that's kind of my sort of the unpopular side of my job, to try to point at, this is not optimal. I wouldn't say it's not good, but this is not really optimal, and to try to say that in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're not, your life is all wrong. I'm not, it's not.
Yeah. Oh, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. Yeah. We've all been there. Yeah.
So it starts with the consciousness and the awareness that this might be a problem, and that maybe start to ask yourself the question, do I want to do something about it? Do I want to do something different? Do I want different outcomes for me and my family and our health and our relationship? And then start to ask questions, what can I do? Because there's no right thing to do, because we're all like different people, different families, different situation. We live different places, we have different needs. So I can't tell you that, you should work less or you should do this and that. You have to figure the details, you have to figure out for yourself. But I try to maybe inspire to see, or to tell people, maybe what types of things you can look at. And you mentioned some of them, this about time, about the fact that the parents often are like away for 8, 9, 10, 11 hours at work, while the kids are in institutions, because that's really what they are, kindergarten and daycare and schools, and the lack of relationship building and the lack of attachment, because that's a real that is a real issue. And maybe I figured I had a normal job. I had a job in marketing, and this was really this was before my health journey and everything. But I was looking at my friends with kids, and I was thinking, no, I don't want this. I don't want to. It didn't look like a sustainable way of living a life. It was just, it seemed so stressful. It seemed so not right in some way. And I didn't know anything about the term biological norm, anything. It just felt, maybe just because I'm the person I am, maybe I'm a bit lazy, maybe I need, certain amount of time to myself, and I just, it didn't feel right. So I was actually questioning whether I wanted to be a mother in the first place. But then I realized, there are steps that I can take and things that I can do. So I decided to quit my job and start working for myself, to be more flexible, to have more time. So I worked less when she was little, so she could have shorter, like fewer hours at daycare. Could pick her up, earlier, so we could spend more time together during those first really important years, for attachment and stuff. So and I'm really glad I did that. But of course, that's maybe not an option for everyone, and I realized that. But I do think that you need to ask yourself the question, do we, because we think that we need all the money, because the money and the economy is the reason we work so much, and really take a look at it and ask yourself, do we really need all this? Do we need such a big house, or do we need the vacations. Like you have to figure out like your priorities, because
Yes.
you can't get it all. You can't get, unless you're really really rich and have then you can maybe get both, all the vacations and both cars and the big home and the expensive clothes and couches and and all the stuff, and as well, spend time with your kids. But even, rich people they still send their kids to daycare and school, and it's so it's not and that's just proves, the consciousness and the awareness thing, because so, but you have to look at there is some numbers, you have to look at, and what can we do without, maybe. And what do we, and get your priorities right. What is really the most important thing for me? And if you quit your job or reduce the amount of hours that you work, it doesn't have to be forever, but those first years when you have kids, you will never get them back, and you will never get the chance to redo those things with attachment, and it just happens there those first years, and it's so important. And if that's a priority, then maybe those years, that is a more important priority than maybe earning extra money or whatever. So,
I think this is important what you're raising, that we need to look at ourselves, our family situation, and go, okay, first of all, realize this is an environment that is not serving us. What are we willing to do? What can we do? What are we happy to give up? What are we potentially going to get back from making these smaller changes? I think that's really, really important what you're saying, because we're all different. We all have different needs. We all have a different financial situation. We all have different, challenges. I often see it with people when it comes to food, which is my obsession. They go, oh, I don't have time to cook all these things. And I get that. I get that you don't have time. But there's also ways to look at, okay, where can I find the time? Or can I do some, I don't know, bulk cooking, batch cooking on the weekend? Or can I get a slow cooker? Or can I actually just serve things that actually don't need to be cooked at all? So there are ways to do it. And I understand, really, really understand, because I've been there, that it's not easy at first to see a way out of things, because you're so deep within this whole system, in a way, that all you can see is what's immediately surrounding you. And yes, as you say, we're too busy, looking at all the different small fires everywhere and going, okay, I need to solve that, I need to deal with that, I need to deal with that, and now that's happening, and that's happening, and that's happening. It's hard to find the time to sit down and go, okay, so what do we actually do? But I think it is vital what you're saying. And I'm just looking at what you sent me about biological norm. It's like minimally processed foods, goes to the cooking. Can we find time to batch cook somewhere? Can we, a moving body, can we walk to school instead of driving? Or can we on the weekend, get into nature, get into the forest? Can we look at how we clean our houses and maybe choose ways to clean our houses that requires less toxins? Is there a way? I mean, supportive communities is a tricky one. I'm very lucky, I have to say, where we live. It's a relatively small place, and there's always help to be had if you need anything. But it is a tricky one. And then the attachment parenting approaches you mentioned about the early years and being able to be present. I think if we look at everything in one go, it can seem daunting, but I think if we take one thing and go, okay, what can I do now? What will be an easy win for me that would serve us as a family? Then I think do it, and coming from a place where, we're all different, and it might be easy for me to sit there and say these things, but I think we can all do something.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So what did you start with you then? You started with working shorter hours?
Yeah, I think that was the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
To work in a way that, could free up some hours during the afternoon so I could be with my daughter and, instead work a few hours after her bedtime. Because but then maybe you want to watch Netflix, there's we need to wire down as well, but it has worked for me, and I do think about time that you if you go on your smartphone and just check the amount of hours that you spend on your smartphone, it's not funny. It's not a very delightful sight. It's easily 2, 3, 4, or maybe even 5 hours a day. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be on your smartphone, because I've thought a lot about it, and I sometimes it's really what I need. You just need to block everything out, and the smartphone and the social media is really effective, to block things out. It's not optimal. I'm not saying it's optimal, but I wouldn't dream of suggesting that parents shouldn't have that kind of luxury, or so but if you go from 4 hours, I've had 4 hours, and I don't understand,
What happened?
that it can be true, but it's true. Of course, I work, a lot of it is work, most of it actually, but from 4 hours to 2 hours, then you have 2 hours freed up, or 1 hour freed up, that you can do a lot of batch cooking in 1 hour. And you can do really good attachment parenting, and be with your kids or your partner or in nature or whatever for yourself in an hour. That's a lot of time, but it really, that hour just on the phone is just like, it is really fast. But so you can check that, and I will not brag about why that I've been reducing that time, but that's something you can consider checking out. And for me it was a lot of, I think also there's quite a lot of easy things, like just throwing every toxic a health or makeup and deodorants and toothpaste. There's so many things also that's sort of quite easy, because you just need to throw it. Doesn't require really a lot of effort. You just kind of get rid of it, and you get some new ones, so that's just more in your own head, that I always use this and I need it, but maybe you don't. And of course the nutrition thing is really, that's a big one for me, and sometimes I don't really find the time or inspiration to cook, and I've had this really uninspired winter now. I have to confess that it's been really kind of easy solutions. I haven't been like creative or done a lot of advanced stuff at all, and it doesn't, but that's the good thing, because healthy food does not have to be advanced. I think that's maybe a myth that some or many out there believes that I can't cook, or it's really hard, but it doesn't have to be. Scrambled eggs and some cut up vegetables could be a really nutritious dinner, and it doesn't require skills, and it's not very expensive. So you just, like you said, you just need, I think we need to break the box, and forget what our mothers or grandmothers did, because they were in a different situation and a different generation, and dinner doesn't have to be warm. It doesn't have to contain or require like gravies, or it can be much easier, to just break the boxes of how we think that everything should be or ought to be and always have been. It doesn't have to be the way. You can decide what your dinner.
Yes, I think that's exactly it. And if you cook potatoes, cook twice as many, and then the next day you got potatoes already done, you can mash them up with some butter and milk, mashed potato. It doesn't have to be anything big. And I think this is where also we get so caught up thinking, oh, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, yesterday I made pancakes. I used brown flour, I used buckwheat flour, a bit of white flour, and I added a whole big tablespoon of flax seeds, couple of organic eggs. It doesn't take me any longer, but the nutritional content of that compared to just using white flour and eggs and milk is so different, and it's just little tweaks here and there that we can do to sort of get more back into touch with what we're supposed to be or how we're supposed to be living.
Yeah, so and that's really important, because don't aim for perfect or like 100%, you just small steps. I'm really glad that I didn't know when I started my health journey that it would take 2 years before I got pregnant. I'm really glad I didn't know that, because then I might have given up already, and I'm glad I didn't know every change that I would do during these 8 to 10 years. Because they were all taken in small steps. And when I talk about these things, it can be overwhelming, because people think, oh my God, there's so many things that I need to change and do. But just start in one end and take one step at a time. And then, like you said, it's small tweaks and small hacks like that you can do that will make a quite huge difference in nutrition.
Cumulatively it's all good. It's all adding on, and this is again why this show is called the Small Steps to Wellness Show. My Instagram handle is called Small Steps to Wellness, because I was kind of thinking I need to share what I've been doing. How can I describe the journey I've been on? And the journey I was on started with me baking my weekly cake with less sugar, and then adding a tiny bit of wholemeal flour to that cake the next week, and then little by little things changed. And I think a lot of people see how I eat now and think, oh my goodness me, I could never do that, or I could never do blah blah XYZ, I'm not even going to attempt it. But I didn't start by doing that. It's just come. And I'm by no means perfect. I have a sweetie drawer at home. I mean, a lot of the stuff is off date because you forget to eat it, but I have a drawer full of sweets. I do. And so it's not perfect. It's about just balancing out, being a little bit sort of in our favor, and looking at what can we do, what am I willing to change. It's not everything we're willing to change either. What am I willing to change? What would benefit me? What would really not work for our family? And I see it with so many people, especially women, I have to say, that they make drastic changes around the age we're in, by the way, so 40 plus normally, where they go, this is not working. And they have a real sit down and look at their finances and go, okay, what can we do without? Because I feel like this whole lifestyle is not serving anyone. It's a really interesting time we're in. And I think the whole past 2 years with lockdown and with everything that surrounded it, that it's been a bit of an eye-opener for us, how important community is, because that was a biggie when we were shut in, but also how important it is to take time to slow down, to have time to have the meals together, to have time to have the conversations, to have time to, we were allowed to go out once a day. We would always go into nature because that's what our body needed, and I think it's been a real eye-opener for us all about, how we could be living. So it's be interesting to see what happens,
Yeah, and I think that's a big deal also, taking small steps, because the effects, because if you take a small step, it's not that different from where you were. So, you're just edging, just pushing, the boundaries just a bit. And then it's, a greater chance that you would feel, okay, well, I can do this. And then you get motivated, and then you might already, notice some effects in some way, positive effects. And then you want to take a little, take a further step, just a small one. And, okay, this is working. But if you just, that's the problem, with the people trying to lose weight as well. Now I'm going to work out like 5 times a week, and it's just such a huge step from where you were. So it's and change in that way can be really, it can be stressful, and it doesn't feel good, and you miss your old life because you're in a totally different place just suddenly, like overnight, and that very, very rarely works, so it's so much better to, you said the word patience. That's just a clue. This is just the key, to be patient, and just don't overdo it. Just take one small step at a time, and it's so much easier, and such a greater chance that you will succeed in what you're doing, I think.
It's interesting, and I think we'll end on this. So many people I speak to have, through something bad, through a trauma that has happened to them, they've grown from it, and they've found a purpose. And I think as horrible as a missed abortion is, I wonder if you look back sometimes and go, goodness me, I wouldn't have been where I am today if that hadn't triggered me to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's really true. And I'm it sounds not right, but I'm glad that it happened, because this is where I was supposed to be. I think for the first time in my life, I work with something that gives me meaning, and something I feel I'm making a difference in people's lives. And so that's I do believe that the universe had some sort of plan for me there. So sometimes the hardest things is what takes us where we're supposed to go. Opens new doors.
Absolutely. I sat nodding because I knew what you were going to say, because I've heard this from so many people, that they're almost grateful for the trauma, because from trauma comes triumph, and wisdom, and a purpose. I think it's fantastic that we can use something bad that has happened to us and kind of learn from it, and then pay it forward so that others can benefit from our knowledge and from what we've been through as well. Is there anything I've forgotten about any of this?
Yeah, I mean, this is so many things in this that we could dive deeper into. Like you mentioned, trauma and the emotional stuff. We haven't really talked about that, but that's a big thing. But just to mention it, the emotional stuff, and like Gabor Mate has some good stuff on that for people who want to check it out, because that's the emotional side of us also might be, a trigger for physical illness, and that's very overlooked in mainstream medicine. And also I want to mention Katie Bowman, because you said, try to maximize your time. Just try to do things, do the things that matter to you, and stack them. She calls it stacking, stabling på norsk. Stack your life and do the things that matter at the same time. Like, it's not multitasking, but it's stacking. Just check it out. It's a really useful key when it comes to trying to to make your day better and maximize your time and live more in the way you want to live. I think
deep down inside we know what serves us, but we spend so much time suppressing those feelings and those thoughts, and we don't listen to our gut. But I think that's been the blessing of the past 2 years, that we're learning that actually I want to change a few things. I think this has been really, really interesting, and thank you so much for talking about this and for sharing your story. I think I've spoken to so many women who've had health issues related to pregnancy, or women's health in general, and it's important that we share our stories, because I think A, it makes us feel less alone, and B, it makes I think the more women who speak up, the more hopefully society will realize that women's health needs to be taken really, really seriously. So I think it's great that that you've been open about it. Thank you so much. I'm going to put your Instagram profile into the show notes. So if anyone wants to contact you and hear how you work, and if anyone is in Norway, it's probably where you work the most and wants to work with you, then they can get in touch with you through your channels that I'll post on the show notes. But thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate it. And I think speaking English with a Norwegian wasn't so bad after all. I think we did pretty all right.
Thank you, Mari.
So this has been a Small Steps to Wellness show. We are discussing how we can achieve wellness in our lives one small step at a time. Do check out the term biological norm. It's truly an eye-opener. And if you want to have a chat with me and hear how I changed my health one small step at a time, then do get in touch with me on Small Steps to Wellness on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. And thank you all for listening. You've been listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show with Mari Craig. I am passionate about helping mums get their energy back through simple nutritional changes, because we know that if mummy is happy, the family is happy. If you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram under @smallstepstowellness, or visit my website, smallstepstowellness.info. Speak to you soon.